Hey, Kevin here, Mr. DIY Dork from DIYDork.com. Right now it's back to school season, and actually it's one of my favorite times of the year because there's such cool supplies in the bargain bins, and you can get some really cool materials to make really awesome projects. So today I want to show you how you can take a pack of colored pencils, turn it into a really awesome coaster. So check this out. I think you're going to like it. All right, so then once you have all of your colored pencil pieces sanded smooth so all the frays are gone, you want to cut your plastic base piece and then your foam bottom piece as well. And they're exactly the same size, and hopefully my marker will show here, but you want to make the square 3 7/8 all the way around. Then, as you can see, I made some crosshairs here to divide it in half, and that will be our lines we'll use for placement when we're gluing. And if you don't want to do the math, you want to measure over 1 15/16 and make a mark on each side and then join it to make the crosshairs. Once you have that ready, then you're all set to glue. So that's what we'll do next. All right, so now I get it all prepared to glue, and if you can't tell already, what I'm doing is kind of a warm, cool checkerboard pattern with the different colors. So I divided them up into 6 pieces each, and what we're going to do is basically the cool colors are going to go upright, and then the warm colors are going to go sideways, kind of like this pattern here. Okay, so it's easier to go ahead and set them up this way. The other thing is to take note that like these blue and green ones up here, if they're going to be going upright, when I put my glue down, I'm going to go the opposite way, so that way they all definitely get enough glue. And you don't want to over glue, you just want to put just enough, basically just a glob of glue, and I kind of zigzag across to make sure there's plenty on there so that each one will definitely get glue in spots where it needs it. And I don't worry about going all the way to the very outer edge. We'll do that later when we stick on the little border trim pieces. But now that I got the glue on there, when you lay them on, actually let me start with this one. When you lay them on, if there's any writing, you want to make sure it faces down. If there's any chips or maybe there's a little bit of fraying left, you want to make sure it faces down as well. So what we want to do is, this one has a itty bitty tiny bit of writing, so I'm going to face it down, and I'm going to line this one up to the center line, and the edge on this side will just touch that line. Okay, so it'll be totally centered. And then the edge right here is going to touch the other line. Okay, and then you do exactly the same thing to all these others. You just line them all up. This one has no writing, so I'm just going to make sure that the best looking edge is facing up, and I'll stick it down, line it up, and just keep on moving. And then once I get this set down, these 6 here, since these are going to be facing this way, I'm going to glue just the opposite, and I'm going to zigzag this way. And I'm doing that to all of them, and I'll show you what it looks like finished and how to put the border on there. All right, so I'm on my last one here, and like I started with the first one, worked from the center out, did the same thing here, started in the middle, worked out, and now I'm on the very last one, placing it on there. And the cool thing about this glue is that you put it down, you let it sit for about a minute or two to get kind of tacky. You can set your pencils down there, and then even though it took me about 5 minutes to put them all down, they're still movable. It takes quite a while to dry. I actually going to want to let it dry overnight when it's all said and done. But that gives you enough time to adjust it, make sure they're all kind of straight, and that there's enough room for the outer pieces. Okay, so in the outer pieces is really simple too. Is now that you have them all down, it's probably going to be kind of hard to see on camera because my little piece of plastic's clear, but just on the very edge here, then you just want to lay another thing of glue on there. Okay, let's get a nice little run of it. You don't want so much that it'll totally squeeze out. It probably will squeeze out some, but you don't want too much. And then put your piece on. Now when we cut these, when you set it up, you're going to notice that it's not as long as the entire piece of plastic, and that's because when we lay them down, we're actually going to overlap. We're going to do a cool design like that. So just set one down and line it up to the bottom edge of the plastic up against the others, and you'll notice that it lines up to the bottom of the plastic and then just to the very edge of the colored pencils up here. We'll do the same thing. I'll go ahead and just turn it. Might make it easier. I'll lay another thing of glue. Alright, got a decent bead there. Then I'm going to lay this pencil on there and just butt it up to the other one that we just had. Okay. Alright, see, there's a little bit of an overlap there. And then we'll just do the same thing. Then once it's set, Just let it sit for a while, maybe an hour or so that it'll sort of harden up, and then we can add the bottom, and I'll show you what to do after that. All right, so what I did was I let the whole thing dry for about an hour after I put on a couple pieces of wood and a heavy drill on there. You could even use like a few heavy books or something like that. So just whatever would be heavy enough to keep it flat against the your table while the glue is starting to harden up. It's not going to be totally solid, but you want it to start sort of stiffen up before you move on to working with the bottom. Okay, so I'll take that off and I'll show you kind of what it's done. It's glued on there pretty good, but it's still flexible. See how it's bending? And we want it to be totally solid, so it's gonna have to dry overnight. But the reason I let it dry for about an hour is so that we could actually flip it over and nothing's just gonna fall right off. So flip it over and then just take the adhesive off of your foam. And really, if you didn't want to use foam, you could probably even get adhesive backed cork and it'd be almost like, a real legit coaster. But anyway, all I did was I peeled off some of it so that you can lay it on there and kind of line it up to your plastic. I'm lining it up there. Press it on real good. Fold it up, peel the rest, and then just work it down. There you go, very, very easy. So now we got the bottom on there. It's still going to be flexible, but what we'll do is do the same thing again. We'll put the boards on there or books or whatever, and then something heavy, and then you want it to sit there basically overnight. I would say probably even a full 24 hours. That glue will stiffen up and it'll be nice and solid. I mean, this piece does not flex at all, this one that I made earlier. So that's all there is to it, really simple. Just cut them up, make your base, glue them on there, and turn out really cool. You can do all kinds of designs. If you had a 24 pack, you could probably even do maybe, let's say this side they were all up and down, and then this side they were all vertical. That could be kind of cool. You could do different color patterns, whatever you want. Really simple project here. All right, so if you like this tutorial showing how to make the coasters, I think you'll really love the tutorial I have on my site showing you how to make color pencil picture frames. And it's very similar that you chop down pencils, but I also show you how to make the frame and make the stand, or you can hang it on a wall. You can make it landscape or portrait style, and also have the three most common sizes, the 8x10, 5x7, and 4x6. So you get all the plans on how to make all those sizes. Plus I have multiple different layouts of different ways to put the pencils on there. I have color schemes. I have drawings that show all the layouts, and it's color coded and all kinds of stuff. I put a whole bunch of work into it. And anyway, if you like these coasters, then I think you'll love that project too. So go ahead and check it out.